Hey guys, welcome to the Fish Room. I'm Rachel O'Leary and today's a bit of a stressful day. You know, I know a lot of you are really interested in potentially one day doing something like this where you operate a fish room or a business, but let me tell you, it's not all fun and games and playing with fish. I order fish frequently, almost weekly, from all over the world, and sometimes things just don't go according to plan. I had just a small order, 6 species, that was due in yesterday afternoon by 2 p.m. It is now almost a full 24 hours later, and I'm on standby for a call for when they can locate my fish because my freight order has been lost. Now, I pay for priority must ride, which means it's supposed to get priority over everything except human remains. Sometimes things don't go at all according to plan. So you have to have a backup plan. Now, today is probably my busiest day of the week. I have the most orders. My daughters both have extracurriculars, and my husband's out of town, which is why I was lifting all those rocks. And I also had over 30 customers this weekend, which is a lot for an online store. So what I'm trying to do to prepare for the chaos that I know will be today, because I'm positive the airline's going to call when it's my busiest point of the day and it's absolutely the worst time for me to go pick up fish, is I have my tanks all water changed and prepped. I showed you guys that on Friday. That's actually when I set the tanks in anticipation for a late Saturday night, early Sunday morning arrival. It's now Monday lunchtime and I still don't have my fish. So I have my buckets ready, I'll have my camera ready, I have a bunch of nets ready, one for each type of fish, and as soon as they call, I'm going to go get my fish, bring them back, and show you how to handle it in crisis mode, and you guys will see how it turns out. It's a little stressful because there's one species in particular that I was super excited to show you guys. Cross your fingers for me. The other obstacle with buying fish direct like this is that the vast majority of the species that I want to work with don't come with any sort of live guarantee arrival because they're too delicate, too small, or invertebrates, and that means when things like this happen, I'm just out a ton of money with nothing I can do about it. So again, cross your fingers for me. So it has been over 30 hours that my fish have been in transit, and I had these shipped to the airport. First they missed their flight and I paid for priority must ride, and then there was a fish and game issue. So this heat pack's totally cold. So I'm a little worried. Well, I'm a lot worried. Snails are easy. You know, the thing with getting fish, whether you're a hobbyist or a business or whatever, is that once they are packed up and put in someone else's hands, it's not a whole lot that can be done. The reality is, shipping's a very imperfect science, and we're sort of at the mercy of a ton of variables. Yikes. There's several floating in here that are covered with fungus. So as I've talked to you guys about my acclimation video, the most important thing is to immediately get these guys out of the water. I'm even going to put the ones that I know are not well into an aquarium. So I did a visual inspection and I pulled out the ones that were dead. So normally if you were having something shipped and you had any dead, you would take a picture in the bag, get them into an aquarium, send the seller the picture. Because this is such a tragically late shipment, I am not taking the time to photograph them in the bag. What I'm doing instead is laying out any dead along the side so that I can photograph it and let my seller know if there's any substantial loss. Now what I'm most concerned about isn't even if they're alive in here. These aren't my fish. Oh. So in all honesty, what I'm worried about right now isn't necessarily what's dead in the bags, it's what's going to happen in the next day. Because these guys are really stressed. They have almost no color. And none of them are particularly hardy species. Wow, this bag has no air. And that's a lot of dead fish. Oh boy. Now I was positive these fish were going to be dead, and they actually look okay. It's actually absolutely shocking. But we'll see, again, we'll see what happens in the next day. Now I pulled one of those to show you guys because it has obvious hemorrhagic septicemia, which is a blood disease. We'll get to that in a minute. But like again, right now my priority is to get these guys out of the bags into aquariums and see what we can save. That bag of the fish I was most excited about looks really, really bad. I'm not sure that there's any survivors, so what I've done is put them in a giant net right by the sponge filter output so that they're getting hit with oxygen, but they're not getting blown around the tank. And with them, it's really just going to be a waiting game. Unfortunately, they were an expensive fish, and I'm not at all sure that they will have a live arrival. I thought for sure these were going to be dead, and I am shocked that they appear to be predominantly alive. I have no idea what these fish are, but they're huge. Sometimes this happens. You get random bags of who the heck knows what, and I do not have a tank set up for these fish. I mean, they are monsters. So as I was so ineloquently saying when I was unpacking things, you know, stuff happens when you have livestock shipped. It doesn't matter the source and it doesn't matter where it's going. This was a very big delay. Again, these fish were all supposed to be here Sunday afternoon. It's now Tuesday morning. And that's a lot of time for a lot of fish to be in little bags with not much water. But the reality is there wasn't a whole lot I could do other than call the shipper, call the airlines, find out where it was, and get it as soon as I could. And as soon as I got home, I brought it up to temperature in my car. I jammed the heat so that as soon as I walked down here, I could get everything out of the tanks, or out of the bags and into tanks, so that I can observe them. And I will do daily 50% water changes on all these fish. Feed them live foods if they take live foods. And really keep a close eye because I see a lot of ammonia burn. These are a hill stream species, and you can particularly see it on them because they get visibly reddened. I'm going to lose a lot of these guys. I lost that entire bag of the fish I was most excited about for you guys, but only a few from the other species. So all in all, it's not as nearly as tragic of a loss as it could have been. You know, if you guys are having stuff shipped and there's a delay, the best thing that you can do is call the carrier, the shipping service, and have them hold it so that you can pick it up right away, because that's lots better than them riding around in the truck for an extra day and all the extra handling and jostling and temperature swings. The one saving grace for me with this shipment is it got relatively mild last night. It was about 38 degrees overnight. So it wasn't tragically cold. This little tiny heat pack that they used from Singapore certainly has been expired for at least a day. The fact that it was kept in a controlled environment is definitely what saved these fish's life to this point. Now it's up to me. I'm not going to treat with any medications preemptively. I am going to go around and put polyfilter in the aquariums. I'm going to do that right now. And that is just to absorb any ammonia that is going to be produced despite my water changes, because these fish are so stressed they can't take much more. I just turned on the tank lights so I can show you guys that even though these fish were super long in these bags and extremely stressed. What did I just do with my scissors? There we go. Colored up pretty quickly. I'm really worried about these guys. This was a bit of a disaster. But in all honesty, this is kind of what being in this business is about. There's always freight delays. There's a lot of money tied up in it, and you never quite know what's going to happen. Especially when you deal with tiny, delicate fish. It's a very steep learning curve, and staying calm and just worrying about the fish first is what's most important. And, you know, I'd rather lose money by not getting pictures in the bags than prolong the stress of these fish for a second longer. So these are Kubatai. They actually don't look bad. I lost 4 of them in transit, but they're swimming pretty normally. There's a couple that are nose up, which I'll probably lose. All in all, it could have been totally tragic. Now I'll have to keep a super close eye on these guys. Oh look, an Espy. I'll have to really keep a close eye on these guys in the next couple days to make sure they don't come down with ick. Again, daily water changes and really good feeding to boost their immunity. It's pretty much all I can do at this point. This was a bag of Dario Hysingion. There were about 8 dead in this bag. Not too terrible. They're acting exactly as they should. Again, we'll have to keep a close eye on them. These are the fish that I did not order. Great. I got in these little Caridina gracilla rostris, which sort of swim around like a helicopter. Now, I don't have a lot of hope, honestly, for them doing well. Exceptional algae eaters and really pretty neat, but if you notice their bodies are all really milky. That doesn't bode well for their survival. But I'll do what I can to save them. Lots of water changes, probably a few a day, to encourage them to molt, and I'll give them some good quality food in here. I got in these Borneo suckers, and I'm a lot worried about them. They have very increased labored breathing, and like you can see how red the lungs of some of them are. Like, they should all look like that one in the middle. See the one to the left, how just purplish red it is. And I have a feeling that one's not going to survive, and any of the ones that look like that probably won't survive. You can see this one's like purple. That's not a good sign. This is very troublesome, and I may need to dose these guys with some antibiotics. But again, they came in alive, so even if they end up dying, I'm out of luck. Kind of sucks. This one looks really bad. This guy looks terrible. So does this one. But again, the best I can do for these guys at this time is clean water and plenty of oxygen. So guys, I have literally been up all night. I took a 40-minute cat nap. And it could have been much worse. I'm sure I look lovely for you. I'll keep you guys posted on what happens with all these guys. I'm really bummed about the one fish that was a total loss, because I was super excited to share them with you guys. But I'll try and get them again to show you in the future. This whole shipment was a disaster, and a really good learning tool for you guys. I mean, stuff happens. We have to realize that stuff happens, and you know, I don't blame the shipper. It's really out of their control. It just purely stinks. And at the end of the day, I did what I could. I stayed available to get them. Once I did get them, I got them into aquariums as quick as possible, and really, other than that one bag, I had very minimal losses, only 1 or 2 from each bag. But again, you know, what happens in the next few days will really tell the story. I have a feeling I'm going to have very significant losses on the Borneo suckers, although they're acting wonderfully. Probably have some more losses in the chilies, just because some of them are swimming really funny. But I think that the Kubatai and the Darios and my snails will be just fine. And those shrimp, we'll have to see. Maybe they'll surprise me. I might set them up on a constant water change to try and help them. But it's important to remember when crisis strikes like this, that the best thing that you can do is be calm and do what you can for the fish first. And that means really making sure you get them out of that polluted water and into clean water as quick as possible. And I'm still waiting to see if I can save any of the fish from that disaster bag. Again, I have them in a large net near the filter output so that they're getting, you know, fresh oxygen, but without being blown all over the tank or laying on the bottom struggling to orient themselves. You know, a lot of times with bigger fish, if they come in and they seem mostly dead, you can bring them back by really getting that oxygen exchange across their gills. You know, these fish are literally 1 millimeter, so there's no way for me to physically handle them to do that. So I just have to do the best I can. What's most important as well is I've already, you know, once I got the fish into the tank, I pulled the dead, I laid them out, I shot a picture. I sent it to the seller so that I'm giving them every opportunity to make this right. You know, I'm not going to wait 6 hours or 12 hours or a day to email them. Once I have everybody situated, I'm going to let them know right away and give them every opportunity to correct this. And what's most likely that'll happen is they'll offer me a credit for a future order. And that's totally fine, because the fish that came in looked beautiful despite this horrendous trek. You know, all in all, I'll be out about $1,000, which could have been much, 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 much worse. And that's sort of the nature of the beast when you do what I do. You know, you'll have noticed as well, everything went into its own species tank. That's really critical when you get things in from overseas. It's really the best way to be able to monitor them and keep track of how they're doing. And if one species is more stressed than another, it really allows me to treat only the affected fish. So I'm going to power through today, ship my boxes, drink a lot of coffee most likely. And if I'm lucky, I'll get a shower and change my clothes before the evening routine with the children starts. I'll update you guys on Thursday or Friday on how all these guys are doing. And maybe I'll show you some updates around the fish room as well. As always, thanks for watching. Sorry this wasn't much of a Tuesday tip, but had to do what I had to do to, you know, preserve these fish. As always, let me know below if you have any comments, suggestions, or questions. Make sure you subscribe and sign up for notifications so you don't miss any of my upcoming videos. Make sure you stop by my Instagram, my Facebook, and my website so that you can see my upcoming speaking engagements, my current stock list, and information on all things nano.